Yeah, and your point about the variety that we have, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you would have went back, not that long ago, 100, 200 years ago, I mean, you would literally be restricted to, a handful of items that you had locally available to you. Obviously animals that you either raised or hunted, and then whatever grew near you, and not much else, because we didn't have transportation and refrigeration. And now you go to the grocery store and there's literally 10,000 different things you can choose from. And and so people are so used to that. And it's kind of like when you go to this, I'm going to an all meat diet. It's like, oh my God, that's such a culture shock. I mean, here today, but I mean, if you would go to other places in the world, Mongolia, rural Mongolia, they're probably, well, that's friggin' Tuesday, man. It's just like, I mean, it is. It's just like, what's your perspective? And so we're so accustomed to variety and food that has, this blue and green and yellow and fluorescent and 27 flavors. And we've got, cereal that's made out of candy bars. And I mean, it's just gotten ridiculous. And the more variety we have, the worse our health gets, because the food industry is always trying to make the newest thing, because it's kind of like, it's like, I guess the difference between classical music and pop music. Classical music always sounds good. It always has. And then the pop songs got to keep changing because people get tired of them, but they still want to, they'll still listen to some Mozart and still appreciate it. It's just like a steak. Steak's like classical music. It's always good. It's stood the test of time, but the latest, whatever, Dippin' Dots ice cream craze or whatever they got out there, that's, it's going to be interesting.
It's all the anti-foods. And then we are all like bankrupt, nutritionally. I think the deficiencies are showing, you have a lot of people with gut issues. You have a lot of colorectal cancer that younger people are starting, to show up with. Yeah. And I think it's all these anti-foods that we have, I mean, you walk in the store and you grab something and it has all these chemicals, and it's like your body wasn't made, in a lab. And it's not going to thrive eating like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned, and it is true, that colorectal cancer is definitely on the rise in younger people. Typically, cancer affects older folks, but some, we have childhood cancer and we have some that go earlier. But colorectal cancer specifically has gone up in incidence in people under 40. And it was interesting. There was an article done a couple of years ago on this, and I read it, and it profiled about 20 people that were young. They're under 40. They had colorectal cancer, and like a third of them were plant-based people. They were vegan, vegetarian, which I thought was curious because in the general population demographic, a third of people aren't plant-based. I mean, it's like at most 10% are vegetarian and 2 or 3% are vegan, and so they were disproportionately represented in that little sample size. Now, it's not purely scientific, but it was just an interesting observation that, so it's like, what is leading to this? Is it meat, or is it, I don't know. Is it the pesticides on the food? Is it who knows? I mean, there's millions of ingredients that we're eating now, and it's hard to say what is causing it. So it's an interesting thing.
Well, like you said, the glyphosate issue, and, I follow Dr. Zach Bush, and he definitely talks a lot about the soil and just the deficiencies in our soil. And that's going to disrupt, our ability for our body to function the way that it was really meant to function, because we're not getting the proper vitamins and minerals from the soil.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's certainly that. I mean, that concern. And again, I mean, I think an animal-based diet helps to sort of obviate some of that, or sort of mitigate some of that rather. Yeah. It's interesting, this is off topic, but studies are showing that, a lot of animal products have a lot of these phytonutrients in them, because when they eat it, the actual phytonutrients, the cows get concentrates in their tissues and their fat. And so you actually get more potentially you can get exposed to more phytonutrients from a cow than you would be from your own diet. Because the average American, I mean, they're only eating like 4 plants. It's like wheat, corn, sugar and soybeans. I mean, that's like 80% of our plants that we consume, and they have a limited spectrum, and whereas a cow can go out there and eat things that you and I can't. They'd be poisonous to us, but they can eat them and process them and accumulate some of the phytonutrients that, if you believe those are beneficial, may be beneficial to us. So it is kind of it's a wonderful animal. Cows do miraculous things, and they won't be replaced by the lab meat, and they won't. I mean, the lab meat won't do that. They won't do what a cow does with all the different nutrients that it gets. So it's kind of a very, very interesting thing. I can imagine going from cancer and do you still have effects left over from the radiation?
I don't, because once they did surgery, a lot of those tissues were removed, thankfully. So yeah, I don't have any of those side effects. I mean, really the lifestyle alteration was that my intestine sticks out of my body, So that was something to get used to. But I do remember telling my husband when I was eating more meat, I said, I definitely feel like I have more control than when I'm eating more of the plants because of probably all the fiber and you have all these seeds and everything else. That definitely seemed like I was in the bathroom more.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like I said, it's pretty clear how human digestion works. We are well designed to consume meat. I mean, it's just undeniable, and somebody like you can definitely confirm that because you can see what's going through your system. I mean, you've got a great window into that. Whereas we're not so well designed to eat a lot of fiber. I mean, it doesn't get digested. It can be irritating for sure for many people, and it's just something we've gotten this. I think we've been conned into believing meat is bad for us, and we need to be just gorging on all this indigestible stuff. It just doesn't. It's like we've got a digestive system, and you're putting stuff in there that can't be digested, properly. I mean, there's obviously there's a microbial action on there, but again, and that also depends upon people saying, well, then you have to have the correct microbiome. I mean, you've already got the correct physiology and human anatomy to digest meat, but in order to successfully digest plants, you also have to have this specific microbiome that's working well. And I think even in the event that it has been working well, the modern diet is poisoning everything. I think it really is damaging that. And so I think there's all these additive things going on there. So we're unfortunately running out of time, and it's been really great to chat with you. And I'm just hearing your story is just amazing. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me how many just amazing stories I get to hear every day. It's such an honor to be able to hear these folks. Let me give you a second to share your sort of contact information, social media for people that want to learn more about you. Do you have, like you said, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube? I don't know. Where do they go to hear more?
So you can go to my TikTok is Fit Chick Cancer Thriver, and I talk a lot of my cancer story. I talk about going on a meat-based diet and how that healed my gut. So I talk a lot about that stuff there. And then my website is Mosaic Fitness and Nutrition. So mosaicfitnessnutrition.com is what it is. And so I do, fitness, personal training, nutrition coaching. And then I'm starting to launch more into my life strategy business. So I'm working with like a guy from the NFL who he went on Broadway and he does coaching for speakers. So I'm working with him now on developing my story in a way that's compelling and then launching into more of my life coaching. So you can find Facebook has Mosaic Fitness and Nutrition, Instagram, Mosaic Fitness and Nutrition, and all that. And then my YouTube as well.